This video is the second part of our previous video, how to create Dialogflow CX intents with GPT-3 with 2 clicks. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, we recommend you to watch it and come back to this video because part 1 speaks about what we are doing and this video is about how we are doing. Link for the part 1 video is in the description. So what is that we have done? We have automated the process of Dialogflow CX intent and training phrase creation using generative AI. In our case, generative AI is provided through OpenAI's completions API. So what is generative AI? In simple words, generative AI is a type of AI which has capability to generate a new output based on the data it is trained on. As shown here, training data can be a data set containing text, images, videos, etc., which is used for training the large language model or generative model. When a user sends a query or prompt to this model, it is able to generate a distinct creative output based on the description provided by the user. For example, if we have the dataset containing several images of mountains, then the generative model can build a unique image of mountains which did not exist before by applying all the rules it learned about how a mountain should look like based on its training data. Let's talk about the design. This is a typical 3-tier architecture. As you can see here, front end is the HTML-based GUI. Next, middleware is Springboot-based RESTful APIs. And backend layer consists of OpenAI's Completions API and Google Cloud's createIntent API. This is our front end, which takes the intent name. With the first button click, as pointed by the green arrow on the screen, it generates training phrases for the user-provided intent using OpenAI's Completions API. And with another button click, it creates intent in Dialogflow CX with those training phrases. When a user clicks the Generate Phrases button, it invokes the middleware layer, which is our Springboot application, where we perform prompt engineering on the user-provided input. So what is prompt engineering? Let's understand what is prompt in the AI world. Prompt is a description of a task specified by the user in natural language. And prompt engineering is the process of designing and building these prompts or input data for AI models to yield the desirable output. Let's say we want to build a virtual agent for banking domain. We can make ChatGPT respond as a banking customer care agent who answers customer queries in a professional way. Ideally, this agent should handle only banking-related queries and politely decline the non-banking related questions. We need to specify these requirements in our prompt. We will try 3 types of queries in the prompt for ChatGPT. First, non-transaction related, second, transaction related, and lastly, non-banking. This is how the engineered prompt is going to look like. It says, this is a conversation between a bank customer and a polite, helpful banking customer service representative. Answer the customer concern or question in a professional manner. For general FAQ type of questions or concerns, provide the steps without authenticating the user. If the question or concern is transaction related, then authenticate the user for initiating the transaction. Only if the customer question or concern is not banking related, respond saying only, "I'm not sure about that," and stop. Question of the customer. Are you open on Thanksgiving Day? So our question to the API here is, are you open on Thanksgiving Day? So now let's run this query. As you can see in the response, it is not authenticating the user because user is asking only about the business hours. There's no transaction involved here. Now let's run the transaction related query. Everything remains the same. We are only changing the question of the customer to, "Hi, I would like to transfer $200 to my daughter." Based on our prompt, it should ask for additional information for user authentication. Let's see. And yes, it's asking for some more details to authenticate the user because user has asked for a transaction between their and daughter's account. Great. Now let's try a non-banking query. We'll change the question of the customer to, "Hi, I would like to buy a vacuum cleaner." Now let's run it. As instructed, API has politely declined to answer the non-banking query. If you see here, we have provided the following well-defined instructions for the AI about how to handle the user query. First, the response should be polite and professional. Second, we are specifying how to handle FAQ type of user inputs. Third, we specify how to handle questions related to transactions. Fourth, how to handle questions which are not banking related. Finally, we attach the user query to this prompt. A well-engineered prompt helps you to get the right output as per your need. So prompt engineering is a very interesting area where there is so much creativity required to get what you want out of AI. It takes several iterations and fine-tuning for forming this prompt for AI to give the right kind of result in a format that you are looking for. We highly recommend exploring and playing around prompts. It's really good. Going back to the design diagram. So prompt engineering module is where we take the user input and form a descriptive and verbose prompt with all kind of details as mentioned earlier. This prompt is then sent to OpenAI's Completions API and the response is received, which is a set of AI-generated training phrases. As indicated by step 4 here, these phrases are displayed back to the user for their verification. If the user is happy with the generated phrases, they can go ahead to feed these phrases to their virtual agent. In our demo, it's DialogflowCX. You can integrate with any other virtual agent provided that the API is available for intent creation or modification. Once the user clicks the Train Agent button, we are again invoking our middleware which hosts REST API written using Springboot. This API calls Google's createIntent API with a list of training phrases. If the API returns success, it means intent is created in DialogflowCX virtual agent. You can verify this in DialogflowCX console. Let's take a sneak peek into the implementation details. This is our HTML-based simple web interface. You can build a rich UI as per your need. So when the user clicks Generate Phrases button, we are submitting to the Springboot application which hosts the API to generate phrases. Phrases is HTTP post call and it takes intent as a path parameter, which is the input provided in the text box by the user. This is where we build the prompt using user input and call OpenAI's Completions API by passing this engineered prompt to it. Completions API is a post call with JSON request and response. Some of the important request parameters are prompt, model, temperature, max tokens. We spoke about prompt earlier. Apart from prompt, we pass the model name, which is text-davinci-003 in our case. Temperature is set to 0.2. You can set it to higher value if you want GPT-3 to be very creative in responding. Max tokens limits the number of words to be sent in API response. We have given it as 450, which is not too high, not too less for training phrases. In the completions API response, we need to extract the text attribute of choices object. Choices object is an array. Retrieve the 0th element of this array and rate the value of text field from it for the actual response. We then display the list of phrases to the user so that the user can go through the list and proceed with creating the intent with these training phrases. If the user wishes to regenerate phrases, they can again enter the intent in the text box and click Regenerate button. Once the phrases are generated and the user is okay to move forward, they can click on Train Agent button. On the click of a button, we call the Springboot application to create intents to which we pass the previously generated training phrases list. This API in turn calls Google's createIntent API. You can see the code sample here. These are the details of Google's createIntent API. It is a post call. First, you need to form the endpoint as per your Google Dialogflow CX project and virtual agent details. A sample endpoint URL is shown here. Then, you need to populate headers like authorization, x-goog-user-project, and content type. For authorization header, you need to provide a bearer token which can be obtained either from Google Cloud Shell by running gcloud auth print-access-token command or by calling appropriate Google authentication APIs. x-goog-user-project header value should be your project ID, which can be found on Google's console. Content type will be application/JSON. Finally, you need to form the payload using a list of training phrases and the name for this intent. Once the createIntent API response is returned, we are looking only at the HTTP response code to display the success or error message. This code can further be refined and standardized to any extent, but we have developed only for the demo. That's all for now. We will see you in the next video. Until then, bye-bye.